Chapter 4. The Fall of Every Fucking Thing. The world woke up to a nightmare it didn't see coming. The morning after the last battle, humans stumbled out of their homes, gawking at the black scorch marks seared into the streets, the pavement clawed to hell, and the shredded fences that looked like they'd been through a wood chipper. Fucking idiots. They had no clue the planet was teetering on the edge of annihilation. By the fourth night, the stars were gone. Not hidden by clouds, fucking gone, like the universe had been smothered in black tar. A low, bone-rattling hum vibrated through the air, cracking windows, setting off car alarms, and making dogs howl like they were auditioning for the end of the world. The air stank of ozone and dread, thick enough to choke on. Then the sky burned. Thousands of alien ships descended over every major city on Earth, their jagged black hulls blotting out the horizon like a plague of locusts. Fire streaked through the atmosphere, painting them night red as plasma bolts rained down on skyscrapers and suburbs alike. Screams echoed from every direction, human, animal, and something far fucking worse. The invasion had begun, and this time the humans could see it. Jinx and Maggie sat on the roof of the Powell house, their tails lashing, staring at the burning city in the distance. Fires roared, casting an orange glow that made Maggie's white fur look like it was dipped in blood. Jinx's green eyes glowed like radioactive jade, his black fur spiked with rage. The white streak on his chest a stark reminder of every fight he'd survived. "They finally see the fuckers," Maggie said, her voice low, almost a growl. Her blue eyes flicked to the horizon, where explosions lit up the night like a goddamn apocalypse. "Yeah," Jinx snarled, his claws digging into the shingles, splintering them. "And now we're all fucking screwed." Tank lumbered up behind them, his orange fur singed and matted with dried itcher, his scarred face grim. "It ain't just here, boss," he rumbled, his voice like a diesel engine choking on gravel. "Every block, every city, cats are fighting, but it's a goddamn bloodbath. We're holding ground, but it's not enough. We need to take this war global." Maggie's eyes narrowed to slits, her tail flicking like a whip. "Then we find their leader, cut the head off this cosmic snake, end this shit for good." Jinx nodded, his grin sharp and unhinged, like a predator smelling blood. "First, we keep our humans alive. They're dumb as shit, but they're our dumb shits." "Fucking A," Tank grunted, baring his broken teeth. That night, the first full-scale assault hit the neighborhood like a sledgehammer from hell. Hundreds of aliens poured into the streets, armored shock troops with black chrome plating that gleamed like wet tar, spider-like drones skittering on razor-sharp legs, and massive crab-legged tanks that fired plasma bolts, turning houses into smoldering craters. The air was thick with smoke, blood, and the stench of burnt metal. Humans ran screaming, some clutching hunting rifles or kitchen knives, others cowering in bathrooms, praying to gods who weren't listening. The cats didn't fucking run. The battle was pure, unfiltered chaos. Jinx and Maggie tore through the first wave like twin hurricanes of claws and steel. Jinx's plasma-rigged lightsaber glowed white-hot, slicing through an alien's armor like it was tinfoil. Black ichor sprayed, coating his fur as he roared, "Come get some, you slimy fucks!" Maggie was a white blur, her knives flashing in the firelight, slashing throats and severing limbs with surgical precision. "Die, you extraterrestrial pricks!" she spat, dodging a plasma blast that melted a mailbox into slag. Tank rammed a crab tank like a furry battering ram, his massive frame shattering its leg joint with a wet crunch. Green goo oozed from the wound, and the tank listed, firing wildly. "Fuck your tank, asshole," Tank growled, ripping another leg clean off, the metal screeching as it tore free. Saffron leapt onto another tank, jamming a broken beer bottle into its glowing eye. The machine screeched, sparks flying as it exploded in a shower of green ichor and shrapnel. "Suck on that, you metal bitch," she snarled, rolling away as the wreckage collapsed. Whisper was a shadow of death, darting through the battlefield, her tiny black form a blur as she slit alien throats with a stolen steak knife. She moved faster than thought, leaving bodies in her wake before the aliens even knew they were dead. Biscuit, the fat Maine Coon, waddled into the fray, his fluff hiding a core of pure violence. He smothered a drone under his bulk, clawing its circuits until it sparked and died. "Eat my ass, you robotic fuck," he bellowed, rolling off the wreckage. A human man stumbled out of his house, shotgun trembling in his hands. His eyes widened as he saw the aliens for the first time, towering, translucent-skinned monsters with eyes like oil slicks, their weapons spitting fire. His face went pale as death. "Holy fucking shit," he whispered, frozen. Jinx stood atop a dead alien, his fur drenched in black ichor, his lightsaber humming. He locked eyes with the human. "Get inside, you dumbass!" he roared, his voice cutting through the chaos. The man screamed, dropped his shotgun, and bolted back into his house, slamming the door. Maggie rolled her eyes, dodging a drone's claw that gouged the pavement. "Great, now they can see us fight. You know what that means." Jinx grinned through blood-stained fangs, his eyes blazing. "Time to show these fuckers what we're really capable of." By dawn, the neighborhood was a fucking war zone. Half the houses were rubble, their roofs collapsed, flames licking at the wreckage. Cars were melted slag, their tires oozing like candle wax. The air reeked of smoke, blood, and the acrid tang of alien ichor. Alien corpses littered the streets, dissolving into piles of black ash that swirled in the wind like a grim snowstorm. Jinx stood atop a mound of ash and bodies, his chest heaving, his fur matted with green and black blood. Maggie climbed up beside him, her white coat streaked with gore, her blue eyes fierce but weary. "Look," she said, nodding toward the horizon. Far away, a single massive ship hovered, dwarfing the others, a command ship, its black hull pulsing with malevolent energy, like a heart of pure evil. It was bigger than anything they'd seen, a floating fortress of death. "That's where their leader is," Jinx growled, his tail lashing like a whip. "The head of this fucking snake." Tank limped over, his left ear torn to shreds, blood dripping from a gash on his flank. "Then what the fuck are we waiting for?" he rumbled, spitting out a chunk of alien flesh. Jinx turned to the hundreds of cats gathered around them, a bloody, ragged army of alley strays, house pets, and feral killers. Their fur was torn, their claws chipped, but their eyes burned with unyielding fury. "This ain't just about our neighborhood anymore," Jinx said, his voice like a thunderstorm rolling in. "This is about Earth, about our humans, our streets, our fucking planet. Tonight, we end this shit. For them, for us." The cats roared, a deafening chorus of yowls and growls that shook the shattered streets. Claws unsheathed, tails lashed, and the air crackled with the promise of blood. The humans watched from their broken windows, clutching their kids or their guns, their faces pale with terror and awe. They saw the impossible, an army of cats led by Jinx and Maggie, turning as one and marching toward the horizon, toward the command ship, toward the final fucking battle. No one spoke. No one dared. Deep down, every human knew the truth. Their fate wasn't in their hands anymore. It was in the paws of Jinx and Maggie, the Midnight Defenders, and their blood-soaked army of feline warriors. Chapter 5. The Last Fucking Hunt. The world was a burning graveyard, and the command ship loomed over it like a black sun, its jagged silhouette swallowing the horizon. Fires raged across the city, their orange glow painting the sky like a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. The air was thick with smoke, ash, and the stench of death, burnt metal, alien ichor, and human desperation. Thousands of humans fled in panic, piling into cars or running through the streets, but most didn't make it far. Plasma bolts from the alien fleet turned highways into slag and neighborhoods into rubble. Jinx, Maggie, and their cat army weren't running. They were done with that shit. Tonight, they were taking the fight to the heart of the enemy. The streets were a wasteland as the cats stalked forward, hundreds strong, their paws silent on the scorched asphalt. Their eyes glowed like a sea of embers. Alley strays, house pets, and feral killers united in a silent, deadly march. Behind them, a ragtag group of humans followed, the ones who'd seen enough to know the truth. They clutched shotguns, rifles, and Molotov cocktails strapped to their backs, their faces pale but resolute. They'd watched their world burn and realized their only hope was a fucking army of cats. Jinx led the charge, his black fur sticky with dried alien blood, the white streak on his chest glowing like a battle scar. His claws gleamed like polished knives, and his green eyes burned with a fury that could set the sky on fire. Maggie moved beside him, her creamy Birman fur streaked crimson, every step a deadly dance. Her blue eyes were cold, focused, her knives clutched in her teeth like a promise of slaughter. No one spoke. The only sound was the distant hum of the command ship and the crackle of flames. When they reached the edge of the ship's shadow, a massive, looming fortress of black metal, Jinx raised his tail. The signal. "All right, you furry bastards," he growled, his voice low and raw. "Let's rip these fuckers a new one." The cats roared, a bone-chilling chorus of yowls and hisses that echoed through the ruins. Then they attacked. The first wave of defenders poured out of the ship like a nightmare tide, armored beasts, twice the size of any aliens the cats had faced, their translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent veins. Their black chrome armor gleamed, and they snarled in a guttural language that made the air vibrate like a tuning fork from hell. Their weapons, plasma rifles and crackling blades, lit up the night, scorching the ground with every swing. Jinx didn't hesitate. He leapt forward, a black streak of fury, and tore into the first creature's throat before it could raise its weapon. Black ichor sprayed like a busted pipe, coating his fur as he roared, "Come get some, you cosmic cocksuckers!" The alien gurgled, collapsing in a heap of ash. The battle was a fucking massacre. Tank and Moose, the half-bobcat with eyes like a serial killer, tag-teamed a behemoth, ripping its guts out with a wet splat. Green blood steamed on the asphalt as Tank growled, "Eat your own intestines, you piece of shit!" Moose sank his teeth into the creature's spine, snapping it like a twig. Whisper was a phantom, zipping between an alien's legs and slicing its Achilles tendon with a stolen switchblade. The creature screamed, toppling, and she was gone before it hit the ground, already hunting her next kill. "Die quiet, asshole," she hissed, her tiny voice dripping with venom. Saffron leapt onto a drone's back, jamming a jagged bottle shard into its glowing eye. The machine screeched, sparks flying as it exploded in a shower of green goo and shrapnel. "Suck on that, you tin can bitch," she spat, rolling away from the wreckage. Maggie was a white-hot blur, her knives flashing like silver lightning. She flipped and twisted through the chaos, slitting throats and gutting anything dumb enough to get close. One alien swung a plasma blade at her, but she ducked, slicing its arm off at the elbow. "Fuck your sort, you slimy prick," she snarled, driving her knife into its chest until it dissolved into smoke. The humans joined the fray, their shotguns thundering as they fired into the advancing hordes. Buckshot tore through alien armor, and Molotov cocktails erupted in blooms of fire, scorching the enemy. A woman with a rifle screamed, "Die, you freaks!" as she blasted an alien's head into a pulpy mess. The air was a cacophony of gunfire, alien screeches, and feline yowls, thick with the stench of blood and burning flesh. The ground ran slick with green and black ichor, pooling in the cracks of the shattered pavement. Then the ship's doors hissed open, and the ground shook as it stepped out. The alien overlord. It was a fucking monstrosity, 12 feet tall, its black-plated armor gleaming like polished obsidian, its face a nightmare of bone and steel, with eyes like twin voids. Its weapon was a massive spear crackling with blue plasma, each swing sending arcs of electricity that scorched the air. The humans froze, their weapons trembling in their hands. Even the cats hesitated, their fur bristling. Jinx crouched low, every hair on his body standing on end, his lightsaber humming faintly. "That's the one," he snarled, his voice thick with rage. "The head of this fucking invasion." The Overlord pointed its spear at Jinx, then Maggie, then the human survivors, its translator booming like a death knell. "You will all be erased. Your world will burn. Your kind will be nothing but ash." Maggie's blue eyes blazed, her tail lashing. "Not tonight, you overgrown fuckstick." She charged, a white streak of pure fury. The final battle was absolute fucking chaos. Jinx leapt onto the Overlord's back, his claws raking through the gaps in its armor. Black blood sprayed, and the creature roared, swinging its spear wildly, smashing craters into the street. Sparks rained from the ship above, setting fires that licked at the ruins. "Eat my claws, you bastard!" Jinx screamed, sinking his teeth into a seam near its neck. Maggie slid under its legs, her knives slashing at its hamstrings until green ichor poured like a waterfall. The Overlord staggered, its roar shaking the ground, but it swung its spear, catching a human and sending him flying into a wall with a sickening crunch. Maggie cursed, vaulting onto its chest. "You're gonna pay for that, you piece of shit," she snarled, driving her knives into its ribs. Tank and Moose hit from the sides, their massive bodies slamming into the Overlord's legs. Tank's jaws crunched through armor, tearing at muscle and bone. "Fuck you up, big guy," he roared, blood dripping from his maw. Moose clawed at its knee, his half-bobcat strength bending the metal. The humans rallied, hurling Molotov cocktails that exploded against the Overlord's armor, flames licking at its plates. A man with a shotgun pumped rounds into its chest, screaming, "Die, you fucker!" The blasts chipped away at the armor, but the beast kept coming. Then the Overlord swung its spear, catching Moose in the chest. The blade impaled him, and with a flick, it hurled him like a rag doll. He hit the pavement with a wet thud, his body limp, blood pooling beneath him. The cats froze for a split second, their yowls silenced. Something inside Jinx snapped. His eyes burned green fire, his fur spiked like black needles. "You motherfucker!" he roared, leaping higher than he ever had, a black tornado of claws and rage. He landed on the Overlord's shoulders, driving both claws into its eye sockets with a sickening squelch. Green goo sprayed, and the creature shrieked, stumbling backward, its spear flailing. Maggie was already there, vaulting onto its chest. "This is for Moose, you son of a bitch," she screamed, driving both knives up under its chin, deep into its skull. The blades sank to the hilt, and green blood gushed like a geyser. A blinding flash lit the night, brighter than the sun. Then, silence. The Overlord collapsed, hitting the ground so hard it cracked the pavements like an earthquake. Its body shuddered, then dissolved into a pile of black ash, the spear clattering uselessly to the ground. For a moment, no one moved. The cats panted, blood dripping from their fur. The humans stared, their weapons limp in their hands. Then the command ship above let out a horrible metallic wail, like a dying god. It erupted in a ball of green fire, the explosion shaking the city, debris raining down like a meteor shower. The remaining alien forces screeched, their bodies dissolving into smoke as their fleet vanished into the void. The invasion was over. By dawn, the battlefield was a silent ruin. Hundreds of alien corpses littered the streets, their ash mixing with the scorched earth. The air reeked of smoke, blood, and the acrid tang of victory. Humans emerged from hiding, their faces pale, staring in stunned silence at the cats, their fucking saviors, licking their wounds among the wreckage. Jinx limped over to Maggie, his black fur singed, one ear torn to shreds, his lightsaber flickering weakly. Maggie was bloody but alive, her knife still clutched in her paws, her white fur matted with green ichor. "It's done," she said, her voice raw, almost a whisper. Jinx looked over the carnage, Moose's broken body, the shattered streets, the humans weeping in the ruins. "For now," he growled, baring his blood-stained fangs. "But if any of those space bastards ever come back, they'll wish they'd stayed to fuck in their galaxy." The surviving cats, Tank, Saffron, Whisper, and the others, gathered around, their fur torn, their eyes fierce but weary. They nodded, a silent vow to keep fighting. Then, one by one, they melted back into the shadows, slipping into alleys, rooftops, and homes, leaving the humans to clean up the wreckage of their world. By the time the sun rose fully, Jinx and Maggie were back on the Powell's couch, curled up and purring softly, their fur clean, their weapons hidden. They looked like two innocent house cats who'd spent the night dreaming of treats and sunbeams. But the humans who'd seen them fight, those who'd watched Jinx tear out the Overlord's eyes, or Maggie sink her knives into its skull, knew better. From that night forward, no one ever looked at a zooming cat the same way again. They knew the truth. The world had been saved by the Midnight Defenders, and the cost had been paid in blood and claws. Chapter 6. The Watchers in the Fucking Dark. 3 months after the Battle of the Command Ship, the world was a scarred, haunted shell of what it used to be. The skies were clear again. The black scars in the atmosphere faded like a bad memory, but the cities wore their wounds like battle scars. Entire blocks were reduced to rubble, jagged piles of concrete and twisted rebar where homes and schools once stood. Streets were patched with fresh asphalt, hiding the pits where alien blood had eaten through the pavement like acid. Memorial walls lined every town square, scrawled with names, human and feline alike. Spray-painted tributes to the cats who'd fought and died. Moose, his name etched in red. Shadow, a stray who'd taken out a drone before bleeding out. And countless others. The humans had learned the truth, and it had changed everything. Cats weren't just pets anymore. They were fucking protectors, warriors who'd stared down an alien apocalypse and clawed their way to victory. Humans looked at them with a mix of awe and fear, like they were gods in fur coats. Every night, porches were littered with offerings, fresh fish, bowls of cream, catnip toys, even makeshift weapons, knives, sharpened screws, a goddamn zip gun some idiot thought a cat could use. Neighborhoods organized patrol shifts, humans with rifles standing watch alongside their feline guardians, scanning the skies for any sign of those cosmic fuckers coming back. Jinx and Maggie were the heart of it all. They didn't rest, didn't relax. Every night, they stalked the rooftops, checked the shadows, and watched the stars, their claws always ready, their eyes never soft. The humans called them heroes, whispered their names like legends. Jinx didn't give a shit about fame, he just wanted to keep the bastards at bay. Maggie, for her part, wore the reverence like a crown, but her knives stayed sharp and her patience for bullshit was thinner than ever. On a warm summer night, the air thick with the scent of ash and blooming jasmine, Jinx sat on the roof of the Powell house, his black fur gleaming under the moonlight. His torn ear twitched at every sound, a car backfiring, a dog barking, the distant wail of a siren. His green eyes burned, restless, scanning the horizon like a soldier who'd seen too much to ever sleep soundly again. Maggie sat beside him, grooming her long white coat until it shimmered like fresh snow, her knives now strapped to a custom leather harness the humans had crafted for her after the war. The blades glinted, polished to a razor's edge, and a small plasma-rigged dagger, another human gift, hung at her side, humming faintly. "Quiet night," Maggie said, her voice low, almost bored, but her blue eyes flicked to the sky, sharp as ever. She licked a paw, wiping a speck of dust from her fur like she wasn't ready to gut anything that moved. "Too fucking quiet," Jinx muttered, his tail twitching like a live wire. His claws flexed against the shingles, splintering them. "Feels like the calm before a shitstorm." Maggie snorted, sheathing her claws. "You're paranoid, Jinx. We fucked 'em up good last time. Maybe they learned their lesson." Jinx's eyes narrowed, his gaze locked on the sky. "Those bastards don't learn. They just get meaner." He tilted his head, ears swiveling. "You hear that?" Maggie froze mid-lick, her ears perking. A faint hum rolled over the rooftops, low and bone-deep, like the growl of a distant beast. The air felt heavier, charged with static. Jinx's fur bristled, and he stood, his claws digging into the roof. He stared at the sky, where the stars glittered, except for one spot. A single point of darkness hung there, too perfect, too still, like a hole punched through the universe. "You see that shit?" Jinx growled, his voice thick with suspicion. Maggie's eyes locked onto it, her tail lashing. "Yeah, that's no fucking star." The hum grew louder, vibrating through the shingles, rattling windows below. Streetlights flickered, and a dog down the block started howling like it was possessed. Maggie's fur puffed up, her knives glinting as she shifted into a crouch. "Guess it's starting again," she said, her voice cold, all traces of boredom gone. Jinx bared his teeth, his green eyes blazing like radioactive fire. "Then we make sure it ends again, for fucking good this time." Behind them, silent shapes emerged from the shadows. Tank, his orange fur singed and scarred, limping but unbowed. Whisper, the tiny black kitten with eyes like death itself. Biscuit, the fat Maine Coon, his fluff hiding a core of pure violence. And Saffron, the one-eyed calico, her single eye glinting with a hunger for blood. More cats appeared on neighboring roofs, in alleys, on fences, a silent army, their eyes glowing like embers in the dark. Jinx turned to them, his voice a low growl. "All right, you furry assholes. Looks like those space pricks didn't get the memo. We took down their overlord, but they're back for round 2. You ready to rip their fucking throats out?" Tank grinned, his broken teeth gleaming. "Fuck yeah, boss. Let's make 'em bleed." Saffron spat, licking her claws. "I'm gonna shove that hum up their asses till they choke." Whisper didn't speak, just flicked her tail, her tiny form trembling with anticipation. Biscuit yawned, his massive frame shaking. "Point me at 'em, I'll sit on their faces till they pop." Maggie's lips curled into a smirk, her knives glinting in the moonlight. "Let's show these cosmic fuckers what happens when you mess with Earth." The cats moved as one, a silent tide of claws and fury, slipping through the ruins toward the point of darkness in the sky. Below, a few humans, those who'd fought alongside them in the last battle, watched from their windows, clutching rifles and Molotovs. They didn't speak, but their eyes were wide with fear and respect. They knew what was coming. They knew who was leading the charge. The hum grew louder, the air crackling with static. The point of darkness in the sky pulsed, expanding like a wound. A faint green glow flickered within it, and the ground trembled, asphalt cracking under the cat's paws. Jinx's tail lashed, his claws unsheathing with a metallic shink. "Here we go again, Mags," he growled, his voice thick with bloodlust. "Time to fuck some shit up." Maggie's blue eyes burned, her harness creaking as she adjusted her knives. Let's make these bastards wish they'd never left their shitty little galaxy. The cats vanished into the night, their silhouettes blending with the shadows, moving toward the unknown threat. The humans watched, their breaths held, knowing the truth. The war wasn't over. It had only just fucking begun.